First off, I'd like to welcome everybody. If you haven't sat down with us before, my name is Grog. I am one of the CAs here at Connext, and we're kicking off our fourth community call. We're all extremely excited because, as you know, we've had a lot of huge developments recently, and of course, I will not go into those because we have people here to literally do that. I'm just here to host and kind of move things along. So to get started, we have three of the big head honchos here at Connext. I'll let them jump off and introduce themselves right now before we move on into everything else.
Yeah, thank you so much for that. Actually, I think we had an order here. I'm just trying to pull it up right now.
Oh, if we're just going to jump into the actual order process and the, I guess, layout of this meeting, yeah, we will start off. Technically, we'll start off with Arjun, who will be talking to us about the So basically, Connext kind of emerged from a long, arduous trek with our Amarok update. It's been deployed with minimal issues and extremely positive community response. So we'll let Arjun talk about, how did we get here?
Yeah. So I guess just a quick intro. I'm Arjun. I'm one of the founders of Connext. I do a little bit of everything, but generally, I guess my title is project lead. To give a quick recap on where things have been at for us. So for those of you that are obviously those of you that are in the community for a while have known about about Connext since we've got going, and know that we've been building tooling for cross-chain communication for quite a while. And those of you that are newly joining us, Connext is an infrastructure project that aims to make it easy for people to aims to abstract away the experience of interacting with multiple chains. And what I mean by that is right now, when you go and use an application, you have to deal with this really frustrating experience of having to know what chain you're on and having to figure out what chain the application is on, and usually having to go and bridge your funds to get to the application, or having to switch between chains within the application. It's a bit of a mess. And the reality is, if you're a user, you don't want to have to think about that. When you go and you use YouTube today, you don't have to think about how Google's distributed database infrastructure works. You just use the application, and I think that's where crypto and that's where this ecosystem needs to get to, especially around this multi-chain applications. So in the past, what Connext was doing was enabling cross-chain transfers of value. This was largely happening through a bridge, initially called Expollinate, but that was then rebranded to the Connext bridge. And then now we've, as Grog mentioned, we've been expanding to the Amarok upgrade that we just released, with the key goal of moving, not just supporting transfers of value, but also allowing people to build applications. So to do any kind of cross-chain message passing, so basically taking any data from any chain and bringing it to any other chain, and allowing people to build applications on top of that, so that you can do more interesting things like cross-chain governance, build cross-chain DeFi applications, DEXs that can live on multiple chains simultaneously, bridge your NFTs between chains, and other kinds of more interesting and complex use cases that we're seeing emerge in this really, really interesting cross-chain world. So yeah, I'll pause there for now, but that's just a quick high-level overview of what Connext is, where we're coming from, and where we're going in the future.
All right. Well, high level or not, that sounds like a lot. Not gonna lie. So after all this time, effort, blood, sweat, tears, other bodily fluids, what kind of user experience improvements can everyone expect from this? And I do want to remind everybody here who's listening, if you have any questions for the crew up here, just plop them in the comments down below, and we will be browsing through and looking to answer some of those. So I'm going to pull Rahul in here as well.
Yeah, sure. Hey, everyone. I'm Rahul. I'm one of the co-founders as well and the engineering lead. Really great to be here and talk to you guys about Connext. As Arjun mentioned, Amarok is a huge upgrade for us, and it's the biggest upgrade we've ever done. It's taken us basically a year to ship. And, we kind of want to build the foundations using Amarok for the next generation of cross-chain experiences that you guys are going to create. So, for normal bridge users and users of the Amarok protocol, indeed, we have a bunch of UX improvements that we've that just come with this giant upgrade. So one of them is reduced gas cost. I don't know how many people use the previous iteration of the bridge, but we were doing probably about 4 on-chain transactions per user transaction. So obviously that translates to a ton of costs. And now we've basically been able to consolidate all that into just one single destination chain transaction per user transaction. There's some other stuff that happens behind the scenes with like batch transactions, but all that is stuff that the user doesn't need to worry about. So the user just has to worry about paying a relayer fee for the transaction that happens on the destination side. Another thing is there's no more fund lockup risk. In the old system, there were instances where your funds could get locked up. That's why we had this like mechanism where after 3 days or 72 hours of funds being in the system, you were able to withdraw them on the sending chain, and that's just like a horrible experience if that does happen. And this is related to like routers going offline or things like that. So now in the new system, there's no more of that risk. So we have mechanisms built in so that routers will come and fulfill transactions instantly. But even if this is not the case, like for example, if a router doesn't have enough liquidity to give you like a spot transaction, the funds will eventually make it through the system within a couple hours, and your funds will be received through the batching process that I described before. Then, of course, we have increased speed, reduced latency. We've made a ton of improvements to our backend infrastructure, so everything is like very well scaled, very stable, very durable. We've also made the routers very lightweight and able to kind of like operate in a much more efficient way, so that this ends up providing a much better experience to end users. And then on the router side, I don't know how many of you are in here are interested in running routers, but if you are kind of tech savvy, you like, running nodes, running validators, things like that, we have a great opportunity at Connext to actually participate in our decentralized network of liquidity providers. So, we want to make this the best kind of node running and liquidity providing experience. So we tried to make things as easy as possible. If you go to Connext Scan dashboard right now, you can click on individual routers and you can see what they're doing, how much they've locked up. And, we plan to really improve that side of the router liquidity provider experience and kind of like provide a lot of insights and a lot of value to these amazing people that are running routers and helping to decentralize and increase the user experience of Connext while also making yield on their funds that they're providing. So some of the improvements include no more rebalancing. So routers don't have to worry about moving funds from one chain to another chain. In the old system, basically a router would collect funds on chain A and distribute them on chain B. And, after a while, they might build up funds on one side and run out of funds on the other side. In the new system, that doesn't happen at all. A user just provides funds on Optimism or Arbitrum, and their funds stay there forever. And they get slowly depleted when users come in, and they get returned when the system batches the transactions through. With this, there's also no more gas management. So we've really optimized the way that the gas system and the relay system works so that routers don't have to worry about it at all. Like I said, the routers are so lightweight. Literally all they do is just send a signature at a certain time. And this signature basically validates the fact that funds are able to be moved from that contract into the user's wallet, and then eventually the router will get repaid. And because of this, we also have no more liveliness. So like if a router is offline, they will just simply miss that transaction or a period of transaction. So they will miss out on potential returns, but there will not be like any penalty to the users or any danger of the users of the routers losing funds, as was the case in the old system. So yeah, basically the whole process has been very much streamlined, and router user experience or router experience has been one of the top of mind things that we've really kind of iterated on and built. So yeah, that's it.
Just to give some context here, I think like for a lot of the users, a lot of the folks like in this call who have been here for a while and been using the Connext bridge for a while, I think one of the biggest challenges has always been the like frustration of sometimes making a transaction and then, you know, the router is like offline or is like out of gas or and like that's a bit of a frustrating manual process that exists because in the previous system you as a user had like this one-to-one relationship with the router. So like when you got a quote from the network, what you were doing was being matched with a specific router, and then you made a transaction on chain, and then the router would like make a corresponding transaction on the destination chain. And the challenge here was what happened if you made a transaction and the router just didn't follow up. And like as it turns out, that's actually a really difficult problem to solve in a way that doesn't introduce trust. And that's one of the biggest kind of changes between the old system and the new one that affects both routers and users, because now when you make a transaction on chain, it's no longer the case that you have to wait for one specific router to make a transaction on the destination chain. Any router in the entire ecosystem can fulfill that transaction on your behalf. So as long as there's at least one router in the world out there that has liquidity and that is watching the chain, your transaction will go through immediately. And that's just a massive, massive improvement to reliability for every user. And it's also just it's a lot of like stress taken away from routing. You no longer have to worry about being online all of the time. And this is really what lets us move from like having routers that are like professional node operators who, you know, we can work with and have some sort of agreement for them to be online a certain percentage of the time, or like a high enough percentage of the time to give a good user experience, and instead move towards a world where anyone can run a router. You know, even if you're only online 50% of the time, or even if you're running a router in a place with a bad internet connection, you're not going to lose funds. You're not going to end up giving anybody a bad experience.
Wow. Honestly, it's like super incredible how much this team has really just accomplished over the last year. It's, you know, that said, as far as the general user base is concerned, two things tend to matter most. Costs of bridging, which of course we just covered, and number two, you know, opportunity, you know, whether that be sweet gains or LP rewards, things like that. So I'm going to bring in Alex here, and maybe you can tell us a little bit about this, the new liquidity structure and the yield.
Sure. Yeah. Hi. Nice to meet everyone. I'm Alex. I'm the product manager at Connext. So in order to enable this new router user experience, we introduced our local assets, which are Next assets. So basically on every chain, routers are providing, for example, Next USDC or Next WETH. Now, from an end user perspective, if you're bridging, you still just want the adopted asset. So if you're going from Polygon to Optimism, for example, you'll provide USDC and you can receive it in as low as like less than a minute on the receiving chain. In order to enable this, there's actually swaps that are happening underneath the hood. So we have stable swaps. We use Curve's methodology for this. And in order to receive these adopted assets, we have liquidity pools now. So we're excited to introduce pools. It's a new tab. So in our UI and bridge.connext.network, you can go to the new pools tab, and you can be a passive liquidity provider, and you can earn yield on all of our bridge transfers now, which is really exciting. So right now we have pools for just USDC and ETH, which are our first two assets on the network. We have them for BNB chain, Polygon, Optimism, Arbitrum, and Gnosis. And anyone can provide yield, can provide assets here, and you can earn yield. And there's a really cool opportunity. Some of these pools are still imbalanced right now. You can provide either single-sided, so you can provide just USDC or just our local Next USDC, for example. And if you're providing the underweighted asset, you actually receive bonus LP tokens. So this is similar to a lot of other pools out there in the market, but it's an exciting new way for users to actually support the network and to earn additional yield. And you're actually helping support this new router experience as well with greater capital efficiency. If you have questions on how to do this, Max on our team created a great blog recently, providing liquidity on Connext on our blog. And also feel free to reach out to us on Discord. We're definitely focused on supporting this as best as possible.
I'll also take the opportunity to plug, I have a video out as well that it's more high level, but if you're just interested on the basics of throwing some liquidity in there and returning rewards, maybe check it out. So as mentioned, though, I am staking liquidity. Everybody here should be as well. And I will remind everybody that if you have any questions, please, of course, ask us in the comments below. So while a more efficient bridge with the option for user liquidity is rolled out and it's chugging along and everything's going pretty great, what other cool use cases are we looking at in the future for Connext now that we have this big upgrade on board? I'll pass that off to Rahul.
Yeah, totally. So as Arjun mentioned at the start, our goal is really to just abstract the whole process of dealing with different chains. And what this means is we need like rich applications to be built on top of this technology that really make use of this. And the biggest thing that Amarok really brings to the table here is a developer platform. So we want to enable developers to really kind of like push the envelope when it comes to thinking about what you can do with different chains. And when you have the ability to have like seamless, trustless interoperability between chains, it kind of opens up an entire design space of things that like we can't even really conceive of right now. So, we are working with a lot of teams right now. We have about a dozen in our pipeline. We're talking to maybe a dozen more who are kind of like still looking at the technology and figuring out what kinds of things they can do with it. I'll highlight a couple here. One of my favorite ones is the Price Oracle project. So, there's a huge problem right now where if you're trying to get prices of tokens on different chains, you have to rely on either semi-centralized Oracle services like Chainlink, which first of all don't even support long tail assets, or you need to rely on like liquidity pools on that specific chain, which can be extremely thin and prone to malicious attacks by people through flash loans and things like that. But if you have a single source of high liquidity for these assets on something like Ethereum, where like a lot of the liquidity is based for like every token pretty much, instead of having this liquidity fragmented and then using a fragmented liquidity pool to get a price for something, you can just broadcast this price to every chain. So we're working with a really cool project that's doing this, and they're basically taking prices and broadcasting them to all different chains. So hopefully you guys will hear more about that in the near future and see it ship, because that's one thing I'm really excited about. And the reason why I'm so excited about it is because this is not even a use case I was thinking about when I was asked about cross-chain use cases in the past. And I really think that the big use cases we haven't even really thought of yet. Some other ones, there's cross-chain NFTs. We're working with a cool project, NFT Hashi, and some other ones to kind of develop this whole concept around cross-chain NFTs and how you could make your NFT basically multi-chain and work on any chain very easily. There's also a couple which are going to show up here later, so I won't spoil them, but Fuji Dao and AutoPay are doing really cool things around like lending, DeFi, payments, things like that. And of course, like one of the big things that we're really excited about and starting to put a lot more time and effort into is cross-chain governance. So I really think that's going to be a huge use case, and there's like a huge design space to explore there. This is a big need for DAOs and protocols, because a lot of DAOs are now going multi-chain, but these multi-chain DAOs are largely not interconnected, and they can't execute actions on other chains or take inputs from other chains. And these ecosystems end up becoming really fragmented when they're all operating under the same DAO. So they should really be part of the same thing. So yeah, that's a few cool things, and really like I said, I think that we really haven't thought of the use cases, and we haven't really scratched the surface. Like, there's things you can do with like Filecoin, for example, and these storage services where you could store a bunch of data on one chain, and and then you could pass like information about that data back to another chain, and you could kind of run things like a full decentralized computer where you have compute and storage working together in like a huge decentralized system. Anyways, yeah, so we would love to hear from you guys if you have other cool ideas. You know, I think there's just such an open space here, and we're really going to see like a Cambrian explosion of cross-chain apps over the next, you know, coming months.
Wonderful. I mean, like, this is going to be a really exciting year for, you know, the space in general. 2023, I think everybody's has pretty positive outlook on things right now, and Connext having this ship so early in the year just sets things up for a lot of cool things to be built. Kind of following that, we actually have a bit of a special treat. We're going to invite up some partners here, some people who are part of the ETH India Hackathon, utilizing their integrations with Connext. So let's start off. I'm going to reach out to, let's pull Mark up here. Mark's from Fuji Dao. And Mark, if you could tell us a little bit about yourself, about the project, explain the product a little bit, talk about how the integration experience was, etc.
For sure, yeah. Thank you for inviting me, and it's a pleasure to be building on top of Connext and sort of being a part of this ecosystem. So for those of you who don't know me, hello. My name is Mark Anstead. I lead up the BD side of things for Fuji Finance, and I've actually only been working with them for about 2 or 3 months now, but I've been following the project literally since it was created. I've been friends with Boyan for like 2.5 years now, so it's been really cool to see the project evolve. So I think to give you guys an understanding of what we're building, it's important to give a little bit of background on what our V1. I guess how we built our V1 and how that's evolved into our V2. So with our V1, it was actually created in a hackathon back in early 2021. And they essentially looked at a lot of the developments that were going on in the ecosystem. There were a lot of aggregators that were being built, like 1inch, Paraswap, DexAG, but those were all for decentralized exchanges. And no one was really focusing around how they could be interacted around money markets. And so what the team was sort of looking at was, okay, we can go and look at the different types of money markets out there. Let's say Aave, Compound, Euler, Morpho, things like that. And all of them have different interest rates for your loans, as well as for your yield on your collateral if you're just depositing in to generate yield. And all those rates, they're different, and they change at every single block. And so what we did is we built essentially the first borrowing aggregator on Ethereum. And that evolved into becoming a multi-chain product where we deployed on a few different chains. We were on Ethereum, Phantom, Arbitrum, and Polygon. And we were looking at it, and we were like, you know, this isn't really like the future of how a product should operate, or how a DeFi product should operate, because all of these solutions, they're all operating in their own silos. They can't communicate or interact with one another. And the liquidity is just all siloed. You can think of it similar to like high rises in New York City. Like you can't sort of bounce from one high rise to the other. You kind of have to go back to the ground floor, go across, and go up to the other high rise. It's kind of a pain in the butt. And so we were looking at that, and this past year, we ended up participating in another hackathon, which I believe it was ETH Amsterdam, and built out a product which was called Flown, which allowed you to transport your debt position from one chain to the next. And this essentially evolved into what is now becoming our V2, which we are calling Himalaya. And Himalaya is going to be the first cross-chain money market aggregator. So what does that mean? That means that we're allowing for users to deposit into any money market from any chain and being able to take out that loan from any chain. So as an example, you can go and interact with Aave from a whole bunch of different chains, regardless of what the origin chain is. So if you want to go and say, hey, I want to interact with Aave on mainnet, you can essentially go and access that money market there from Arbitrum or Optimism, and you can do all of that in one click. Previously, you would have to do that in like 6, 7, or 8 clicks, and you'd have to be bouncing between a whole bunch of different types of UIs. And essentially what Connext has built is allowing us to take what we've built with our V1, evolve it to essentially what it's now becoming into our V2, and really helping to improve the user experience for how people are interacting with DeFi on chain. So it can essentially become this sole dashboard, or in the future for like wallets and dashboards to integrate these types of vaults to allow for people to easily go and just deposit into a money market or take out a loan from a money market from pretty much any chain. And what we're doing is taking that aggregation that we had in our V1 and continuing to introduce that in our V2. So you can still either A, get the best yield on your deposits, or if you're a DeFi user and you're taking out a loan, we can help to optimize your on-chain debt to help minimize it and allow you to make sure that you're paying the least amount of money as possible. So that's kind of a quick overview, I guess, of myself, the evolvement of Fuji, and I guess where we're at now. So we're now in the process of getting ready for our V2 to go live. We're actually going to be kicking off a private beta in the next 2-3 weeks. And then about probably 4 to 6 weeks after that, we're going to be going with our public launch. So we're already like testing in production and getting ready for unveiling this pretty cool product that we've been working on.
Wonderful. Wow. Well, you heard it here first, 4 to 6 weeks out. Mark that on your calendars. There's some really cool stuff coming there. I can't even imagine the amount of effort and work that you guys had to put into getting all of that on board and integrated with Connext, but thanks. All right. So next up, we want to talk to a couple other folks. We're going to talk to Zayden. Apologize if I say that incorrectly, with Fragments, which is recently turned into AutoPay, and Deep as well. If you guys want to unmute yourselves and talk about yourself, your project, explain the product you built, and how was your integration experience with Connext as well?
Hey, hi. Yeah, so AutoPay started as a ETH India project. We were part of a Connext hacker house at ETH India. And the simple goal at back then was to solve for systematic investments on chain, right? There are so many yield protocols that people actively put liquidity to, and they do this activity on a recurring basis. So we wanted to find a way where you can simply automate this process. And like looking at the broader picture, like smart contracts are nothing more but passive scripts, right? And you always need somebody to do a signature and trigger them. So we believe there's a broader scope here for creating products for businesses that allow them to simply automate these functions in a Zapier-like format. So AutoPay is the first product that allows businesses to do subscriptions, SIPs, or any recurring payment or transaction on chain. And currently, we are in the works to build out a recurring payment product using Connext, wherein you can take deposits from any chain. So the user can deposit from whichever chain they are comfortable from. And using Xcalls, we will make it reach to the merchant's contract in whatever chain the merchant is on. So that way it becomes easier for the user to deposit from wherever they are comfortable and wherever they have stable coins on. and the merchant can receive this in the chain they are currently operating their functions on. We would also like to share some alpha on what we are working on under the hood. Currently, we are building out a cross-chain streaming infrastructure also, working closely with Connext and Superfluid. So that's a small alpha, and more about that, I think, probably in the next community call when we launch it.
Perfect. Wow. Very concise, exceptionally cool stuff. You guys are killing it. And congratulations on your success at kind of, jumping off from that hackathon and into this product. So we're actually pretty ahead of time here. I don't have any questions in the chat that I've come across for any of the group here yet. If there's any generalized stuff you guys want to discuss or any questions that the group has for anyone else in the group, feel free to go ahead and jump in with that. If not, I would like to pull Matthew in here. I hear he has Cat's kind of already out of the bag on this if you're paying attention in the Discord. But if you'd like to talk about a special announcement, now's the time to do it.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you so much. I guess by way of a quick introduction, my name's Matthew. I'm the ecosystem lead here at Connext. So for those of you that I haven't personally met, it's really wonderful to meet you guys, and I'm happy to be here. I would also, since we're running a bit ahead of time, just like to extend congrats again to the AutoPay team. It seems like we were just hanging out at ETH India yesterday, and so it's really cool to see how far you guys have come. And to that end, with the network upgrade, we're really eager to explore all of the new use cases that it enables. Throughout the call, you've heard some of those kind of emerging use cases, and I think that we're really only scratching the surface of what's possible. So if you are a developer or you're interested in cross-chain development, I'd really encourage you, hop into the Discord. We have engineers available. This is a time of a lot of experimentation, and I think especially as we look forward towards the next market cycle, this is an opportunity to really carve out new niches. Not only just in the DeFi space, but I think in the crypto space at large. And so if you check our recent history, you'll see a lot of interesting conversations, including one just an hour ago on the Gnosis DAO community call, where we talk about how Connext and Gnosis enable cross-chain governance. So a lot of really exciting things there happening. And again, we're here to support you guys as you experiment alongside us. By way of getting back to why I'm speaking to you guys today, some of you may have already seen it on our Twitter, but we're really excited to announce today that we will be kicking off next week a Galaxy NFT campaign for early folks that are helping to LP in the system. So how this will work is it's a 90-day campaign starting next Wednesday, the 15th, and again, running for 3 months' time. And we will be taking a snapshot each day and calculating based on that the average daily LPing balance by wallet. So the top 30% of LPers on each chain are eligible for a custom NFT. Again, the tweet is pinned, and so I'd encourage you guys to check that out. Only one NFT is available per address per chain, but that doesn't mean that you can't LP in both pools. So we have both ETH and USDC pools available on BNB, Polygon, Optimism, Arbitrum, and Gnosis. And so we will take a daily snapshot of the LPing balances for both pools, and by wallet address, we will calculate the cumulative amount LP'd. And again, at the end of the 90-day period, whoever has the largest average daily LPing balance will be eligible to receive that top 30% on each chain. So what that means is the longer you LP, the more likely you are to be eligible to receive that. And I know for a lot of you, this is maybe the first time LPing with Connext. For those of you that have already done so, you're ahead of the curve. And if you keep those balances, they will be captured in the snapshot. But for anyone new, feel free to hop into the bridge and click that Pools tab to begin LPing. And of course, if you run into any concerns, you have questions about the process, just feel unsure in general, by all means, hop into the Discord. We have our engineering team and core team available 24 hours a day to help you guys out. So Yeah, that's about all I've got. I'm really excited to continue working with you guys as we roll out this next phase of Connext. And Joe, I'll turn it back over to you.
Perfect. Well, thank you for that. That's something everybody should be really excited about. I don't think top 30% is really that unachievable. In fact, there's a lot of opportunity here for even some smaller LPers to potentially squeeze in at the bottom there. So please check out that tweet that's been pinned to the top of the space here. There's a handful of other tweets relative to what we've talked about or the projects that we featured here today. Of course, I do want to thank everybody who came in today to talk. Your participation in both just this space and educating the public, but also in Connext ecosystem is extremely appreciated. I encourage everyone in our audience here, of course, to please follow all of our speakers that are up here today. These are some of the brightest minds in the space, and you will not regret seeing what they have to say. And of course, please join our Discord just to get that immediate alpha, to get that feedback, to be able to talk with the team directly if you have an idea or a concept or a project that you're working on. That's discord.gg/Connext. We'll bring you right in there. Once again, I am Grog, and I thank you very much for sitting down with us today on our community call number 4. And you may hear from me again in the future. And thanks for coming out. Thanks, everyone.
As a quick final thing, just wanted to give a quick shout out to the members of our community that are from Turkey and that have been organizing the Turkish relief effort. Obviously, in case you aren't aware, Turkey experienced a massive earthquake, Turkey and Syria, and it's pretty awful what's going on over there. So if you're interested in helping out or getting involved, there are donation addresses available that have been posted by the Turkey Relief DAO on Twitter, and I think hopefully we can try to pull it up here as well. I'll see if I can find the tweet link. But either way, we can post that in our Discord chat as well, in like the announcements channel.
Perfect. I'll actually hit that retweet into our general chat from the Turkey Relief DAO, at least their most recent tweet about how you can support the relief efforts in Turkey right now. All right. If that's all, again, thank you for coming out, and I hope everyone has a wonderful day.